we're talking about today is really a strategic shift, and how we look at the Craft Connect experience that we're sharing with you is, and you can see the bullet points of how we've thought about concerned significant others or family members, and their role and involvement in recovery. I have wonderful colleagues who the most unpleasant part of their experience working with clients is having to deal with their families because they see the family, the CSOs, as a source of problems or obstacles to recovery. There are people who create systems independent of the family or the natural support system to try and support their clients' success in recovery. And frankly, friends, in this culture, we have what I describe as an individualistic worldview that that we can do this on our own without anybody's help, which we all know is not the case. So what we want to push you to and push our community towards is a more family friendly model of care. Let's see, Angel, can you, let's see, you just read. Alan, would you read that little 10, paragraph 10?
Sure. To a family model of care, a collaborative strategy that ensures treatment and recovery related programs, services, facilities, and activities are responsive and supportive of CSOs' engagement and involvement and are based on their loved ones' needs, preferences, and goals. A model that energizes and reframes the connection between providers, clients, and CSOs into a therapeutic alliance that places CSOs closer to the heart of recovery.
This is a new one. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. This is a unique idea. There are a lot of existing collaboration model handouts. Some of you may be familiar with, and I've included them at the back of the presentation. But this idea of having creating a therapeutic alliance. So, and the way I think about it, friends, is I'm the client, right? I'm the person who's struggling with a substance use disorder, and I've got one arm around my therapist or my counselor, my peer coach, whatever person that might be in terms of the program I'm in, and the other arm is around my concerned significant other, right? And the three of us, or however big that group is, we're allies in recovery. We're working together in our helping us to do better. So this is a model that's respectful, loving, it's non-confrontational, it's a set of principles and skills, and it's been described as unilateral family therapy. That is a practice that doesn't involve the clients or those who are struggling with the substance use disorder. It's based on behavior change. We're behaviorists. I love that we give people insights, but my experience and training has helped me to realize that it's when we can observe changes in people's behaviors that we know that they really are changing. We use a group learning experience like we're doing today that we know works with all kinds of cultures, and we have been able to do this online, and we also have had these groups in person, and they augment any recovery path that our client or loved one may choose. They complement existing inpatient and outpatient programs and organizational efforts like the Purpose of Recovery. Craft Connect is a combination of evidence-based practices, CRAFT, which sounds like Donella explained a little bit while we were away from you, peer support, dialectical behavioral therapy or DBT, wellness, motivational interviewing. And our goal is to just help the CSOs, the concerned significant others of those who are struggling with a substance use or mental health disorder, make better connections, better connections with their loved ones, better connections with treatment and support for their recovery, connect with pleasurable activities that have been disrupted by their loved ones' unwanted behaviors, because this is a group setting, and people like I did in our family setting, our family felt like we were the only ones experiencing this. We realized the great benefit of bringing people together who have the shared lived experience and in a support group setting. And I know many of you have had that experience. And then obviously we're going to teach you skills and principles, and we're going to bring you in touch with resources in the community. I'm going to skip over this song because we're not going to have time. But this is what's fascinating is and I hope you're as part of your practice, whatever role you're playing in the recovery community, I hope you're taking the time to read the literature and kind of expand your horizons. This is something I've enjoyed doing. And so the Craft Connect is based on what's called the Pyramid of Family Care framework. And that's used in every country but this one. I mean, it's used in the Commonwealth countries, in Canada, the UK. And it's a way to integrate family work into daily practice. And it's based on some really, I think, simple but powerful principles. So this is the pyramid based on 5 levels. And we need somebody to help us. Donnella, you want to read that number 14? This is, and then we'll talk about this a little bit.
All right, if CSOs have their basic support needs met, then only a small proportion will require more specialized, more expensive services. Foundational principle, minimal sufficiency, or do what is needed. The bottom 3 levels include orientation to services. CSOs' basic need for information about their loved ones' disorders and support for those dealing with psychological disturbances. It is within the scope and competence of generalist substance use and mental health service frontline workers to assess, engage, and address the basic needs of most CSOs. The top level represents complex needs for intervention, such as family therapy, referred out during consultation level. The intensity of intervention increases as you move up the pyramid, while the number of CSOs who are likely to require the intervention decreases.
Okay, so just to look at the model while we talk about this, because I think this is, again, one of the reasons we're excited about sharing this with you, no matter what setting you're working in, is if you had 100 family members, the first 3 levels of that pyramid, if we can connect with them, assess their needs, if we can give them some education, if we can put them in a support group, that we found is going to help about 75% of, or 75 of those 100 family members, right? And the people who need more help will move up the pyramid and they might realize, oh, I've got to get therapy for either myself or my family because of what's happening in our situation. So this is a low cost way to meet the needs of a huge percentage of the family members that we want to be of service, right? Think about 75% in those first 3 levels. And the great news is that 75% can be helped by somebody like me, a peer or a frontline behavioral health worker. You know, we don't have to have a degree in family therapy or be counselors licensed by the state to do the connecting, assessing, education, and psychoeducation. So this is something that, we've developed this as really an off-the-shelf, scalable model that'll meet the needs of the CSOs, the providers, and the community organizations. All the materials are written, they're online, the groups work like a council, there's no teacher or expert, peer facilitators like myself and others with lived experience, just follow the materials. And we've also written them so you can do them in a self-directed kind of one-on-one study. And again, we're grateful for our partners, the Purpose of Recovery, New Roads, which is the behavioral health, which is the agency here in Utah I work with, and then USARA, which is the statewide organization. So this is what what, okay, I'm going to share with you some data. And again, because this is me. I like to know that what I'm sharing with people is based in some objective truth, if you will, and surveys and research is part of the reason for doing that. So when we talk to our CSOs before they start their Craft Connect study, they self-report a real skills and confidence deficit. Look at that. You know, I have the skills needed to improve my family's well-being. Only 15% of the people feel that way. You know, I'm confident I can improve my family's well-being. Again, only 39%. And heartbreaking, right? I often think I can't do anything to improve my family's well-being. Only 25% of this, of these concerned significant others feel like they can do anything, right? We asked about how people are doing in terms of the impact of their loved ones' challenges on their family life. And you can see the percentages. You know, to me, the most overwhelming one is that I feel completely overwhelmed. 50% of the folks that have a loved one that's struggling with a substance use disorder are feeling this. And then, you know, and how are they feeling it? You know, by making emotional adjustments, right? Caring for a loved one is difficult. Family adjustments, financial strains. So I'm sharing with you something I know you know this, but I'm hoping the data will indicate to you, help you to reinforce that these CSOs that we sometimes are dismissive of in terms of can they play a role in recovery are really struggling themselves. These, which we're doing with the purpose of recovery, we have a wellness program that we're not teaching right now, Skills for Life Worth Living. We have a YouTube channel that supports the work of Craft Connect. Then we're doing a family support group with the purpose of recovery, and also a women's group. And here's just a little bit of background on those groups. So the DBT goes to the movies. If you're not familiar with the DBT skills, it's a great skill set. It deals with helping us change our behavior, helping us be more effective in our thinking, our interpersonal skills. And we have fun with this as a combination of reading activities, music and movie clips. The women's group is for women who are caring for children at home and or might be at work, and this is a noontime group. The topics change on a week-to-week basis, and the female facilitator is available to do one-on-one coaching for people that are engaged in that group. And then our family support group, which meets in the evenings and again is focused on creating, you know, more compassionate connections between the CSOs and their loved ones that have a behavioral health disorder. And it's a combination of training, a learning experience, and also a group sharing experience. So to give you a sense for at least the kind of skills training that goes on in these sessions, we're going to do a quick little kind of sample session. And again, I'm going to have my friends from the Purpose of the Recovery do some reading. So Alan, would you read that paragraph 23?
Sure. 7 principles of PIUS communication. Positive I statements with understanding and support. 1, be brief. Resist the urge to bring up too much. Keep it simple. 2, be specific and clear. Focus on one thing. 3, be positive while communicating what you want. Avoid blaming, name calling, and overgeneralization. 4, label your feelings. Describe the emotional impact on you in a calm, non-judgmental, non-accusatory way. 5, offer an understanding statement. Try seeing it from the other person's point of view. 6, accept partial responsibility. Share a small piece of the problem. 7, offer to help.
Okay, love to hear this from the group. As you look at those 7 principles, Do you notice any that might be different from how you've been communicating? And please unmute yourself and share or respond in the chat. Anything that jumped out at you is, oh my goodness, am I doing that? Or am I doing enough of that?
I'll quickly respond. Yeah, these are great things, and actually, you're saving some folks some time and money when it regards to counseling. These are the recommendations that have been given to me and my wife in some marital counseling that we've received. This whole reframing of how you communicate, specifically on making I statements, and all of the numbers items here outlined are exactly what we've been advised that we should do in our communications. Difficult to do sometimes.
Yeah. Again, thanks, Alan. Again, like any skill, it's a matter of practicing, right? The more we practice, the more these become the patterns of communication that feel right to us. Any other thoughts on this? Anybody? Any of those that jump out at you? Or we're friends here that you can maybe admit to not following?
Roseanne says that she tends to over-explain and not focus on one thing. Specific and clear is good advice.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I know as the mom of teenagers, it's often hard for me to accept partial responsibility.
Okay.
Go
and
ahead, Thea.
yeah, for me, sometimes the bringing up too much part happens. I tend to not keep it simple and focus on the one thing. And, other things start to come from the one thing I wanted to talk about. So I think that's a really good reminder, just to not let those other things creep into a conversation.
Thea, I love that comment. When our son was active in his addiction and living at home, when he was sober, we bombarded him with 20 questions, right? There were so many things we wanted. What about work? What about school? There's a dent in the car. How did it get there? And no wonder he didn't want to talk to us, because it wasn't a conversation. It was us just trying to pull information out of him the best we could, and we brought up everything that was on our minds because we were worried, fearful, whatever. So, just being really specific. What am I going to talk about at this moment? What's the most important of all the 20 things I'm thinking about? What am I going to focus on? That's great. Okay, so let's just read. Let's see. Merlin, do you want to read that negative U and pi, the paragraph 24? So here's some examples of the U statements that we all use. I use them with my son, and I'm sure you've used them in other settings as well. So you want to read that, Merlin?
Sure. Negative U versus PIUS statements. As we read through the following examples of negative U and positive I statements, think about the different messages they deliver. Negative U. You always get drunk and embarrass me. PIUS. I enjoy being with you when you don't drink. I know it's not always easy for you, so this makes it really special. Negative U. You never listen to me when I'm talking to you. PIUS. I understand that some of our conversations are upsetting, and I'd love if you could just help me work them out.
Okay. All right. So think about the different messages that those deliver. They're talking about the same thing, right? But totally different tone and messaging. Okay. So want you to let's do this, a little activity. And this is, again, a part of the skills training we do in session. So I want you to write down, and it just needs to be 2 or 3 sentences, a recent verbal, text, or email interaction between you and somebody you care about, right? Just jot that down. A verbal, text, or email interaction between you and a loved one. Let me give you a minute just to kind of do that. Okay, if you've got a sentence or two, this is now the fun part. I want you to look at these little principles of pious or positive I statement communication. And I want you to rewrite the statement that you just wrote, which probably was ineffective, using this little format, right? So start with an I. You're going to talk about how do you feel? I feel, or I'm happy, or I'm whatever the feeling is. It's a feeling, right? How do you feel when you describe the condition or the behavior, right? That you want to talk about. Because, why do you feel this way? And then you're going to tell the individual what you would like. What do you want to happen? I know this is where you indicate your understanding of their position. I know talking about these things is difficult. I know it's hard to get home on time after your curfew, whatever the issue is. And then you end it with, how can I help? How can I help us in this situation? So take the 2 to 3 sentence interaction that maybe didn't go as well as you hoped it would have. And now try rewriting that, reframing it in this, following this little I statement process. Okay, I'd love to hear 2 or 3 examples from the group, because I think it's always helpful. So if you're, and again, we're all friends, if you can kind of share the first statement, first interaction, and then how you would change that into a positive I statement. And I don't think this is something we can do in the chat, Danelle. We'll just have people kind of unmute and kind of share. So who'd like to do that?
You want me to go? Okay. So mine would be my brother. I'll just say my brother. You never answer my text when I reach out to you. That's just the brief part of it. But my reframing of it would be, I feel concerned when you don't reply to my text because I worry if you're okay. I would like you to at least acknowledge me, even if it's just one word. I know you're feeling overwhelmed lately, and I'm just wondering how I can best communicate with you in the future.
All right. Roseanne, can I give you a little coaching?
Yep.
So this is the fun part of this, friends. So Rosanna, when your brother does respond, how does that make you feel?
Oh, it makes me feel happy or relieved.
Okay.
I'd go with happy.
Okay. So that's how you'd want to start this, right? I'm so happy when you respond to my text.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Right? And then, and then what would the next sentence be based on what you wrote?
I feel happy when you reply to my text because it makes me feel, because it makes me feel loved. I would like it when I'm going to need some help there.
Yeah.
And I know it's difficult for you to reach out sometimes, and
Okay.
more coaching is
Yeah.
much appreciated.
No, so this is the thing. So, and you've got enough you can work with in terms of restructuring that, right? In terms of, I heard you in the first example, sound like something like, when I don't hear from you, I worry, right? I love it when you respond, but when I don't hear from you, I worry, because I love you, I'm concerned about you. I know responding back is hard, you don't have the time. And what can we do together to have better communication, right? Okay, great example. Thanks for jumping into the deep end and sharing. I'd love to hear from at least 1 or 2 others. Anybody else have an example of a statement and then how you could turn it into an I statement? You can
Okay, John, I'll do it.
Okay, all right. All right.
So I have a son with autism spectrum that just turned 18. And sometimes if I'm trying to get his attention, he gets really frustrated and will yell at me. So I would say something like, I I like it when you respond with a soft voice to me, because it makes me feel like you know I care about you. I would like you to take a breath before you respond to me. I know sometimes you're busy doing something, but I may not know that you are. How can I help, or how can I help understand when you're busy? Oh boy, that's bad. I would like to respond. I would like to get your attention when I know it's better for you to respond. How can I know?
Okay. All right. And this is what we tell our participants in the group. This, for a lot of us, this is a new skill. It was for me, right? You know, and so what we say, write it down, edit it, refine it. You're going to laugh, but when I learned this skill and was trying to use it with my son in terms of communicating, I knew there were topics that would come up repeatedly about job, about school, about the girlfriend, whatever. And so I prepared statements, pious statements, and I would type them up. I carried them around on a sheet of paper, and I would pull them out and look at them. And the great thing about it is, if these are short enough, you can text them, right? So, you know, if our loved one isn't communicating with us verbally, we can text a pious statement, because again, these need to be brief, specific, to the point. And so, you know, the key to this, like any skill, is practice, practice, practice. So that's just one little segment out of one of the 12 family support group settings. And that's a skill that the participants, and hopefully you, if it's a new skill to you, you can start using today or tomorrow, right? In your family, work setting, whatever. Communication, as you all know, is one of the key stumbling blocks to relationships. And when we share these principles with our group participants, we get feedback like, you know, for the first time in 18 years, I had a conversation with my son or my daughter that wasn't a fight. That didn't turn into a fight, because I used this pious process of communication. And we know that the results from using these skills and principles really are workable. So, I'm sorry, go ahead, Merlin.
Yeah, very quickly, thank you for one comment you made that you know, practice is everything in this thing, because you know, when you're in the situation, so we're trying to grasp through these little principles is fine. But one thing you said, that you know, if you make some notes and have some thoughts, texting. If you get into a verbal situation and it's just you want it to end so it doesn't get, you know, more than you want it to be. Thinking about these situations and providing a text or a response afterward works for me.
Yeah.
And it works for the recipient too. It just does. And so you can really kind of refine it a little bit, and doesn't have to be long and involved. It just has to use some pious, and it just diffuses the situation. You're back on a new starting point.
Yeah. Well, I love that comment. You know, the agency I work with, Friends, and this is probably true where some of you work too, you know, there's a very limited amount of time that family members can talk during the week with their loved ones who are in treatment. And so we say to them, look, you know, you've got a 15-minute call. What are the things you want to communicate? What are the things that you want to express? And prepare ahead of time. Write those down in pious statements. You know, it sounds phony, but it's not. It's being prepared and being the most effective communicator that you can, because after the 15 minutes, the call's over, and gee, did I validate the good things that are happening? Did I, you know, all the things that we think about. So this is really incumbent on us to encourage our participants, our family members, to use this skill. Okay, so this is the exciting thing about this. So we mentioned earlier about the CSO self-reporting, a real skills and confidence deficit. So, and we're just starting to gather this information, but we feel it's very promising. So here's what changed after they got involved with Craft Connect. I have the skills needed to improve my family's well-being. Before that time, 9% would have agreed with that statement. Post-Kraft, 53% did. You know, I know how to improve my family's well-being. Pre-Kraft, 27, post 64. You know, and so, and again, this is self-report, but you know, this is how these folks are feeling. And again, when you feel confident, that's how you're feeling, right? So we've given them some skills and their confidence level has improved. The other thing that happens is when CSOs, their loved ones, and that we know that CSOs, their loved ones and providers all benefit from this therapeutic alliance, right? That we don't want to treat the CSOs in a silo, right? Totally separate and apart from their loved one. We can't afford to do that because the benefits are too great. The CSOs, the family members report, you know, increased empowerment to become a positive participant in their loved one's recovery. They learn how to take care of themselves. Their quality of their life improves. Remember, we shared with you some of the indicators of the stresses in their lives as caregivers. Well, those start to change as they learn skills and become more confident. And then, you know, this idea of the blame, right? Reduced internalized blame and them feeling isolated as a family. Providers, people have studied the impact of having family members engaged and involved in their loved one's treatment. And the providers, the therapists, the clinicians, they see 50% increases, improvements in their relationship with clients, in the client's willingness to be open about their life, and their focus on goals, and the overall quality of their life. And then, of course, the participants themselves, the clients, the loved ones, they benefit from the involvement of the CSOs. And here's just some bullet points. So everything from understanding what we can do to be helpful if we don't know everything, we get involved in helping them plan for recovery. And then finally, you know, and you got a little taste of this today, we've asked people, you know, what are the most important things that you learned? You know, the communication skills that you experienced, the idea of being in a group is helpful. This idea of we didn't cause, we can't control, and we can't cure our loved one's behavioral health disorder. That's a big aha moment for a lot of folks, as you probably know. And then the improvements in their family relationships. So, you know, this is, I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. So, because I want to, so anyway, I'd love you, if we just got a few minutes left, I'd love you if you could just turn on your cameras for a minute. I'm going to ask you a pretty direct question, and hopefully it won't be offensive. So what we've shared with you today is it doesn't cost you, your organization, no matter what group you are, anything, right? The purpose of recovery is sponsoring this. What we've shared with you is that this, having concerned significant others involved in the recovery of their loved ones, benefits their loved one, which could be your client. It benefits the family members. And if you're a practitioner, a clinician, a program director, whatever, it benefits you. Is there any reason that why you wouldn't want to be part of this? I guess I hate to ask it in that way, friends. You know, and because all we're asking you to do is to share information with your family, the family members that you interact with somehow, and make them aware that on, you know, particular days of the week and at particular times, there are groups that they can go to that don't cost them anything, that are full of people who have the same lived experience that they have. And they're going to leave those groups with an increase in their skills and confidence in their ability to help their loved ones.